So you're moving to Warrensburg or you're PCSing to Whiteman Air Force and you need to buy a home, and oh my gosh, where do you start? Let's talk about it. Today, friends, we are talking about the elusive, the necessary pre-approvals. Stay tuned. Don't forget to like and subscribe right down below because I make a new video every single week and you're gonna wanna get notified. Also, my contact information is right down there. I talk to people from all over the world. I'm actually talking to some people from Seattle on Wednesday, and because they're moving here and they need help buying a house, so they just gave me a call. So if you're coming here or if you just have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Text me, call me, email me. I love talking to people. Today, boys and girls and everyone in between, we are talking about pre-approvals. I don't know why I made that noise. Anyway, we're talking about pre-approvals. Pre-approvals are a super necessary step when buying a home. Actually, they're the very first step that you take, even before looking at homes. And today, I'm gonna tell you why. The main reason why pre-approvals are so necessary is because they tell you what type of house you can afford, how much of a house you can afford, and what your mortgage payment's gonna be. Because you don't wanna go start looking at houses way out of your budget, because then you're gonna look at houses in your budget and you're gonna just feel bad, because it always happens. Never look at stuff that's too expensive first, it's bad. So we're gonna talk about what is a pre-approval, what are the steps, what type of paperwork you need to have basically in hand to make the whole thing easy, and what this entails. Here we go. To start off with, we are just going to simply address what is a pre-approval. So a pre-approval is a sheet of paper or an email that you get from a lender that says exactly how much money you qualify for on your loan and how much of a house you can afford. And while doing this home process, you'll learn what your monthly mortgage payment will be and what your interest rate will be. So it kind of gives you a really basic starting point to say, okay, I'm pre-approved for $250,000. So I wanna look at houses that amount and below. So it gives you a place to start off. Now, let's take a closer look at the different parts of a pre-approval process and what you'll need in order to get one done. So the first step is you'll get with your lender and you'll say, hey, I need a pre-approval to buy a house. And then what they're going to do is they are going to take a look at your income, they're gonna take a look at your credit history, they're gonna take a look at any debts that you have in order to really get a really great understanding of your overall financial health. Financial health and well-being. That sounds so weird, but they're gonna get an understanding of what your financial life is like in terms of money coming in, money going out, and how much debt you have versus how much income you have. Now, the reason that they're doing this is they want to make sure that you have the financial stability and the ability to pay back a mortgage loan. So basically, they're gonna give you a bunch of money and they wanna make sure that you can pay it back. For example, say you're buying a home for $300,000. The lender is gonna take a look and see that, okay, you're making $5,000 a month and you have a car payment and you have a phone bill and you have this much in a student debt payment. Okay, they're gonna take a look at that in your credit score and they're gonna say, you can afford a mortgage payment of $1,500 a month. And that mortgage payment, by the way, would include your principal, your interest, plus your taxes and insurance. Here in Missouri, it's all lumped together. So after this financial assessment, which is really kind of just a meeting, and it can be a meeting in person or it can be a meeting online or just phone call, the lender really kind of wants to get to know you and your life and what you have. They're gonna ask for documentation, and this documentation will be W-2s, or if you're a 1099 employee, it'll be any tax documentation. It will be pay stubs. It will probably be your driver's license. It will be any information like your debt, any debts that you know that you have, along with they will run your credit and they'll get your credit report and your credit history. If, for example, you're about to start a job, they'll usually ask for a job letter or a letter from your employer saying that you're about to start your job and this is how much money you're going to make. Or if you're in the military and you're about to re-enlist, they'll probably ask for something from your commanding officer saying like, yes, so-and-so is about to re-enlist, blah, 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 blah. Basically, if you think in your head, hey, what documentation do I need to back up or prove that I make the money that I say I make and that I have the debt or lack of debt that I say that I have, that's what you'll be giving to your lender. And if you know what you need up front, it'll be a lot easier. So if you think you need income, something proving your income, so pay stubs, W-2, tax returns, you'll need your proof of identity, so you're gonna have to have a driver's license. And then you're gonna have to have any bank statements or anything proving that you have the amount of money that you say you have. For example, if you need money for a down payment, you can show that, hey, I have this money, I can do this. Basically, you're just making the lender feel good and want to give you the money. So I briefly talked about this before, but the next thing that a lender will do after they call you, you guys have a discussion, they're gonna ask for your documentation. Next, they're gonna pull a credit report. So you're gonna give them permission to run your credit, and it will ding a little credit report thing on your credit, but that's not a big deal, it's just one, it won't be too bad. They're going to see, okay, what's your credit at? And that will make a big basis on what your interest rate will be and what they will be willing to loan you. For example, a 700 credit score is considered, it's good. A 750 is great, and 800 is amazing. Below that, when you're talking like 650 to 700, those are okay. You can get a little wiggle room around those. Basically, anything below a 620, it's gonna be really hard to work with, and you're gonna wanna possibly look at raising your credit before you try to get a pre-approval. I will caveat this saying that if you are a VA loan person, meaning if you are a retired veteran, if you're an active duty service member or spouse of one, there's a lot of wiggle room there. They don't just look at your credit history, they really look at broad strokes at your financial stability and everything like that. So if you're purchasing a house with a VA loan, you have a lot more flexibility, and I wouldn't worry too much about a credit score. Okay, now that we've talked about the process of what's needed in order to get a pre-approval from a lender, let's talk about why they're important. So the first really big one would be budgeting and affordability. So a pre-approval really gives you the exact understanding of how much money you can afford to spend on a house. It'll tell you how much, and then it'll also give you your mortgage payment amount, so you really understand what you're getting yourself into, because there's literally nothing worse than going to look at a house and realizing that you can't afford it. And this has happened to me before, where I've had a client, they decided to look at one house and they really wanted to see it, and it was before getting a pre-approval, which I tried to say, this isn't a good idea, guys. And they loved the house, and then it turned out they couldn't afford it. So it basically just crushed their hopes and dreams. And every house that they looked at after that, they were just comparing to the house that they just couldn't afford right now. So, most important from the very beginning, this will help you know what your budget is and what you can afford, so you can just avoid that whole trap of looking at houses out of your price range. So the next great thing about a pre-approval is it gives you a competitive advantage. I don't know about other states, actually I do, but in Missouri, and when it comes to our housing market here in Warrensburg, which is super competitive anyway, if you don't have a pre-approval in hand, don't even bother submitting an offer necessarily, unless you really know the person well or the agent really knows you really well. Because our housing market is so fast and it's so competitive that if you don't have a pre-approval from a lender saying, hey, I can buy this house, you're just gonna get overlooked, because usually there's multiple offers on houses here in Warrensburg and in Knob Noster. So if you don't have every advantage that you can have, you'll probably lose out on the house that you want. So competitive advantage, make sure going into the offer, you have your pre-approval there and ready to go. So when you make an offer, you have a much better chance of getting accepted. And last but not least, another really good reason why you should get a pre-approval is saving money, also known as rate shopping. So you go to one lender, you do the pre-approval process, you get your pre-approval in hand, it gives you an idea of what your rate's going to be with that lender. You can then take that pre-approval and shop it around with other lenders or banks and say, hey, I have this rate from one lender. Can you do better? And most of the time, you will find other lenders or banks that are willing to match or raise that and add other concessions. Like for example, I know lenders have waived appraisal fees. They've waived other fees. Basically, they've said, hey, we can see that you're shopping this rate around with your pre-approval. We want to try to beat it. We want your business. So if you like saving money, and I like saving money, I always recommend possibly shopping the rate around and see what's the best deal that you can get. So to summarize, why are pre-approvals so important? Because one, they let you know what your budget is, so you're not overpricing yourself. You're not looking at homes that are outside of your budget, and then, I mean, it's just disappointment. So it really lets you know what type of home you can afford and what your payment's going to be, so you can plan on that and know it. Second, it gives you a great competitive advantage in the market. And I know in Warrensburg, any advantage you can have, absolutely worth it. And then three, it might allow you to save some money, meaning you'll have this great rate at, 6% while you shop it around, and maybe another lender can give you a rate at 5.75%. You just don't know unless you try. So I will say to all of my clients or anyone who's looking to buy a home for the first time, do not hesitate to go ahead and get your pre-approval right away, because also they can last for 6 months. That one pre-approval is good for 6 months. So get your pre-approval so you know what you can afford before you start looking at houses. And if you need any help with that, find yourself a good real estate agent who works with tons of lenders and has favorites that they can just say, hey, if you are looking for a good lender, here are some lenders I like working with for this reason. Me particularly, I have a couple lenders that I just really love working with because our communication is so great and they go above and beyond for their clients. And I like that because I go above and beyond for my clients. So never be hesitant to reach out and ask your real estate agent who they would go with if they were buying a house, because usually they'll have a good answer. That is all she wrote, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I make these every single week all about living in Warrensburg, Missouri, Knob Noster, and talking all about homes and home buying and just about everything else under the sun. So click that like and subscribe. You don't want to miss out. Also, my contact information is right down below. And I talk to people from all over the world who are coming to Missouri, and I love it. So if you have any questions, if you're coming here, do not hesitate to shoot me a text, send me an email, send me a carrier pigeon. Those don't exist. And I would love to talk to you. Talk soon. Bye.